Morning, students. Am I audible in both the classes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, doctor.
Thank you. So this could be your revision on Unit 5. Already we have seen so many demonstrations on this, but this session will help you to revisit everything as well as the step-by-step procedure to write the program again. Right? That's what I'm going to cover, as well as the PPT what I'm going to use today has hardly taken back from nearly 10 to 12 years back, because I found that they have talked something about the relevancy of the old JDK with respect to this graphics programming. That's the main staircase here. See this. Initially, people have developed this type of GUI using MFC and SDK available in our C++ environment. Actually, MFC means Microsoft Foundation Classes. SDK means Software Development Kit. SDK could be similar to your C language. MFC could be similar to your C++. So both of them will ready to support in complete section of graphics programming before Java was into market. So that could be the changeover that Java have made through object-oriented programming. Because for creating a window, hardly I have to write 10 lines of code for window. Right? Next, for creating the frame. Next, to add the components. If I want to create a simple login box like our Gmail login, hardly I have to write minimum 50 to 60 lines of code. Minimum 50 to 60 lines of code. So that could be the case where we have to taken care of complete development in the GUI environment through Java, right? And moreover, the appearance of the components also could not be attractive if I'm moving through MFC or SDK, right? I have only abstract controls. I could not be able to uh, countermeasure my controls for my convenience. I could not be able to customize my controls for my convenience. You should have some standard dimensions. That is also being broken through this, right? So that could be the case that AWT and Swing have a complete platform. So what could be the functionality that we have come across? How about the toolkits are ready to support? And what could be my nativity on AWT? Because AWT is completely native to Java, but Swing is completely an independent one. But the advantage of AWT is whenever I'm going for my web applications, for JNA based environment, Java native interface, there is no need to create any sort of initiations for graphics. But when I'm going for Swing, I have to create my standard INI file for graphics initiation. That could be the major difference, that where we are going to work with our AWT and the Swing, right? So that's the case that here we have to talk about that, right? So that's the complete orientation on AWT. So AWT could be the first stage where Java is started experiencing the outputs in web applications, right? Because well, if I want to run a AWT program means I need a HTML file also. What I will do, I will write an applet code for it. In the applet code, I will give the name of my class as the applet based one, right? Because the tag will be like this: applet, the corresponding base, which is equal to the file name of the class, or the class name of the corresponding file has to be given width and height. That's all. So by that I will close the applet tag. This applet tag will be completely available within the Java program. That should be commented, right? So within the Java program, if you are going to give within the, if you are going to give a separate program means you have to give the same name as that of your class name, and you have to save the file as file name.html. You have to incorporate HTML and body tags too over there, and along with that, what you have to do, you have to link here the corresponding link tag, link reference tag. Through that, you have to mention the file name.html, nothing but the class name.html you have to give. That's the way to carry out our AWT based content, right? I think this could take it a stretch. So how to create the frame? So how I will be creating the frame? So whenever we are going to do any type of graphics based programming, I have to create the frame first. Next, what I am doing, I am creating my control, nothing but here it is a button, object name, new button. I am passing a label. I am adding that button in the frame. Even I could be able to add with the corresponding position. Okay, so ultimately the frame as well as the button could be managed through that object itself. So no need to move forward with any other entries, right? So that could be the major advantage in Java. But in C and C++, you would have a handle. Using that handle only, that you have to carry out that operation. It won't be easier like your object, right? So what you will do, class name object equal to new class name. That's all. The role of object is over. After that, you could be able to use the object to carry out the complete task. Obj dot. But in C++, the orientation is you have to allocate the memory for the handle. You have to keep track the size of the handle that is being occupied by the references being used for the handle. Once the number of references are more, you have to flush the handle. Then you have to reinitialize the handle. Then you have to carry out for the further tasks. So likewise, you have stage by stage work is there when we are going to work with the MFCs and SDKs. So that could be the major case. So here they are talking about the method that was already deprecated. This means available in old APIs, but it would be visible. Right? So that's an interesting revisit from the past. Okay. So this is what I want to talk about the old version, JDK 1.0. Now you are working with the 1.14, right? 1.14. So see that the command what they have passed during that period gives equally a mediocre on all systems. So that is the word. It's not has been generated as it is. So what could be that replacement of 50 to 70 lines of code with 2 lines? That could be the major thing that being focused here, right? So that's the way that we have to look over on this development of GUI library pertaining to this DDK, right? See that they are running with only 4 fonts. They are running with only 4 fonts: Comic Sans, Sans Serif, Times New Roman, and Veronica. These are all the 4 fonts that they will be running over on it. So that's a very complex thing, right? As well as the role of MVC has been enabled. Model view controller. Okay, model is nothing but that corresponding complete abstract. View is nothing but our screen design. Control is nothing but the business logic. So everything could be available separately. If you want to do any changes over on that, for example, you have a screen, you have the controls are being populated. For example, calculator. Model is my complete calculator along with logic. View is either I am going to see the corresponding scientific calculator as a view or a standard calculator as a view, the arrangement of buttons, layouts and the text boxes, right? If I want to increase my button, it is enough that I have to work with the place where I have created my controls, right? For example, I want to make some changes in the code for the square root. I am not satisfied with the built-in square root function. In that case, for the square root button, no need to disturb the button. You have the corresponding function for the corresponding square root button. So what I have to do, I have to write my own code. What I want to rewrite means it has to give an accuracy for 4 decimal places. So what is the change that I have to do? So no need to disturb the design of the corresponding button. It will be as it is. Just I have to work with the code where I have to change my entries. So that is the place where my UI code that I could able to cleanly available and I could able to write. So design and code could be design and logic will be separated. That is the case that through Java GUI based development has been improved, like, right? That could be the case. So the subsequent versions of JDK 1.1, they started implementing that listeners, right? Separate. See, again, they want to separate the actions also for the respective controls. That is also a major or it could be a trend during the time. Listener, but for example, every button means that you have a action listener will be there, right? So if I'm going to click what I need to do, that must be mentioned through that. Whether the control is clicked or not, how could you know about that? Through action listener. That could be the major cases that where the role of listeners, not only for button, for all the controls we have listeners. If I'm going to work with the radio button or checkbox, that I could able to move with my item listener, right? So likewise, for every control, I have a listener. So that is the case that uh, it's a trending one that's being generated through this JDKs, right? And these things, like our MFCs and SDK, ADKs, standard controls. I can create my own control, and the control will be available in the open form. So that's also being possible using Java beans. Might be it's not in our GUI based Java beans in our syllabus, but you could able to go through that, right? You have jelly beans are available for this. So jelly bean is support for this actually. So that means that you have ready-made controls will be available in this jelly beans. What is that actually? So password box ready-made available. So likewise, a text box which will accept only mobile number, 10-digit number, right? Only number. If you are going to type character, it won't print anything, right? So likewise, you could able to create customized controls. That's also being possible. Okay. So a button, if I'm going to click this, it will invoke the printer automatically. So that's also being available in the Jelly Bean box. So likewise, GUI based development also being focused on standardized controls like our MFCs and SDKs. Right, from 1.2 only, that Swing has been started ruling the Java. So till the time AWT is ruling. So from there onwards, from JDK 1.2 onwards, that uh, the rich set of classes are being supplied, more number of controls are being introduced, right? So the components are being given much more flair on this, right? I think people, if you have a chance to go through over on the Netscape Navigator, this is a browser actually. Might be nowadays it won't be available, but you dig the net, you could be able to find out the older EXEs. Better you can be able to refer this website, serverworld.com. That could hold the past old museum contents for you, right? So that you could be able to find out this Netscape Navigator. This browser is completely designed using Java. Okay, this browser is completely designed using Java. All the components available over on that could be completely available over on that. Otherwise, if any of your fathers are working with chartered accountant or people who do the people who are related with accounting and income tax filing, you could able to come over on that. The recent ITR3 utility for the corresponding entry will have a very good a very good flexible utility created by the income tax department for filing the income tax, completely done through Java only. Just you could be able to visit income tax filing website, and you could be able to see a very simple code for that one they have used, and a very good GUI environment that you could be able to use it, right? So the even that could be connected with your backend as well as the support of XML. So so using Java, the entire content was being developed. So that's the case. So this could be the hierarchy. Always object is the base class for all other classes in Java, right? So whenever that you are going to work with any object-oriented programming languages, that make sure that object is the base class for all the available classes in Java, and as well as we have an abstract class will be available there. Directly, I could not be able to place my controls in the environment. I must have some base canvas. So in the base canvas only, I'm going to keep my controls, right? So that's nothing but it would be my frame. That's the thing, right? So so I think we have come across most of these components. Like component, that is the term which is ready to talk about these properties always. What about the size of the individual component? It is going to be text box. What about the set background method? So what could be the colors that it will ready to support, and what could be the visibility of the corresponding control? So these three methods are very basic. Please remember that whenever you are going to create a component, these three methods are important: size, background, visibility, container. Right? I think this would be what do you call it? This would be something invisible for us, but it can be reflected over on the canvas using the layout method. Right? Layout, set layout. So through that I could be able to arrange my components. Right? But unfortunately, I will add my component in the container. That's all. Identify that the base canvas is completely invisible. Okay, that's the idea. Wherever you are getting the term abstract class, that is invisible. That won't be available to the end user to manage, okay, or programmer to manage. Window and frame classes you can create, right? It's possible for us, window as well as the frame. So in the window, you have all these events are ready to work with. Window opened, window closed, right? So that could be mapped with my listeners or adapter classes. Right? Listener means I will write separately for each and every action. Adapter means within a method, I am going to within a factory method, I am going to write all the listeners. That's all. That's the main difference between listener and adapter. Whichever is necessary, it can be plugged. That's what adapter the term. Whenever you need, that particular method is plugged. Rest of them will be idle. That's the difference between listener and adapter. So frame so frame is ready to support with all these events. Window opened, window closing, window closed, window iconified, window de-iconified, window activated, window deactivated. See, people who are working with system programming pertaining to Java, it would be more interesting when you are going to run with your frame. Okay, so Windows Listener will help for us, right? If you want to manipulate with the window, it's enough to work with the corresponding listeners. Okay, so window and the frame will ready to work for these events very promptly, right? So if I want to manipulate anything with the window and frame, it is enough to incorporate window listener. The actions which are happening through frame and window will be identified using window listener. So that's the point they want to stretch it upon here, right? So this could be a simple program. So where most of the super classes will ready to call the base one, right? But here it won't do that. Don't worry about that. So here we are creating the background, creating the layout, creating the button, adding the button, right? This is what happening inside the constructor. Next, what we are doing, we are ready to create the object for the corresponding class where we have ordered all our controls, and I'm setting the size and visibility. That's what the major case that people will be talking about. Right. So I think this one will be most interesting to talk about action listeners and event handlers. Right. Action listeners and event handlers. So how to attach the observer to listen towards the corresponding event. So add window listener. So right, normally we will work with add action listener. This is add window listener. That means it is ready to listen to the windows of the corresponding event. In window we have minimize button, maximize button, into mark, close button. So everything that we could able to manage using this add window listener. That means I'm going to write my program or I'm going to write my any event pertaining to those buttons also. I could be able to override and write those things also. Right? That's the thing that we want to mention over on that. So whenever I'm going to work with add window listener, the corresponding events are it has been mentioned over there. Right? So that interface will hold all these methods. Okay, I'm creating a button, adding into the GUI. For button, I am adding action listener. Right? For container, we are having window listener. For component, we are having action listener. Okay, so that corresponding action listener need to be managed with an action event that must be passed as an argument into the action performed method. Okay. Event delegation model, nothing but event driven programming. That's what the term that they are ready to use here. Okay, so this is what we have come across over on that. So action performed method could be the built-in method where we will be writing the logic. So if I'm going to click that button, what need to happen? That must be written within that corresponding method. Okay, that's what action performed. Action performed is also a built-in method only. Please remember that. Adapter class. Right? So multiple methods will be there in a corresponding window. I don't need all those methods. I need only one or two methods. In that case, what I have to do? I have to use the adapter class. Whichever is necessary, only those things are being monitored over. I think you could be able to observe the second point. They have mentioned default implementation, right, for all methods. So that can be completely managed through this adapter. Right? No need to redefine everything. Whatever you need, only those things can be defined. That's what the major case for adapter classes. Layout managers. How we are going to arrange the components. Right? So flow layout as it is. The controls will flow from left to right. Grid layout, nothing but my calculators. Right? Based upon my how many number of controls, how many number of row and column, what could be the dimensions that they have to keep, pixel gaps. So 3 rows, 2 columns, 5 pixel gaps through my layout managers. Even I could be able to arrange it based upon my directions, based upon the border layout. Right. So those three are, I think, it's enough for us to take it forward. Right. So ultimately, it's lightweight. Swings are lightweight, but AWT they are talking about heavyweight, but it's not heavyweight actually. It is because portability feature will be something adherence to the native architecture. That is the main difference between Swing and the AWT. No need to worry about much more on that. Right, this could be the Swing hierarchy. So from where it has been derived: object, component, container, then come process. So if how can I identify whether this program is a Swing program or not? That could be identified using that file Java X. They have mentioned Java X means make sure that that file containing the Java Swing code is available, as well as before every control you could be able to find out capital J that represents my Swing code, right? So that is a major piece that where we have to work with. So that AWT life cycle will starts with this init method and will ends with the corresponding point entry, point collections. Okay, so JFrame, J component, ultimately, so all those things that we are ready to come over on them. And an important point that they were mentioned here about it, tooltips. So if whenever I'm going to keep the mouse over on the corresponding control, the mouse will convey that what is, for example, you have a button. When you are going to click the button, it is going to perform addition of two numbers. For example, the button I have given something with iconic button I have given, but I don't know what this button is doing. So to understand that, just roll over the mouse, keep the mouse over on the corresponding control at the right hand side top bottom, that I could able to see in the mouse control pointer. I could able to see that what this program is doing in a single phrase. But I could able to give through tooltip text. Right, so that could be the thing. And menus, that how we will be adding. So first, what I have to do, I have to add the menu bar. Next I have to add the menu. Next I have to add the menu item. That is the hierarchy always. First I have to add the menu bar. Next I have to add the menu. Next I have to add the menu item. This is the hierarchy where I have to do that. Right, I think this demonstration will give you the clear idea, the hierarchy, that what they are ready to ask. They are adding the menu bar MB. Next they are adding the menu, nothing but file. Next within file, what are all things has to come? That corresponding menu item, right? Open and exit. They are going to add over on that. What is this add separator actually? Add separator is nothing but after file or after exit, after open and exit, if I am going to give a space, right? That's going to be my add separator. That could be the case where it need to come. So label, as usual, is ready to display display any uh, caption for the corresponding control. I could able to do that, as well as tooltip text also being done through JLabel. Please remember that there is no separate object for my tooltip text. Using JLabel, I could able to do that. The available methods are setText and getText. So even in label, I could able to keep an image. That's what icon based labels also I could able to use. So that's what the case, that how they are creating the corresponding label with the icon. So using set icon method, I could able to set a corresponding icon. For that, you have to create an image that can be done through icon, right? But nowadays, I think this method has been deprecated, that you can done through simple image itself, right? So a very simple program that will talk about iconic labels, right? So in the container, nothing but the components are being added. Label is initialized. Tooltip text. If I'm going to keep the mouse over on that, it will tell me this is label 1. Okay. Over that label 1, I'm going to keep my mouse pointer over on that. It will show me that this is label 1. Right. So the first label is going to be a normal label. Second label is going to be the image icon. The label consists of an image. That's what corresponding. Right. So this is what the way to work with button. So always, so J button, object, new button. So even here I could be able to add my icon also. It's also possible. The second statement will help you to add the icon. Okay. So if I want to add icon, nothing but I have to create the image. I have to add that image. That image could be add with the corresponding constructor, where I have to, after the name, pass the object of the image. That's all. That's enough for me to create the buttons with the images. So checkbox handling. So here I think the content has been worked with item listener. Till now we have seen action listener. This is nothing but my item listener. So item listener, there instead of being the role of action performed, nothing but item state change, right? So that's what the major method that it is ready to cover. It is passing with the item event. There we'll be working with the action event, right? So depending upon the control, the corresponding built-in methods will ready to change while they are going to perform the action. Okay. So how to create the checkboxes? As usual, checkbox O equal to new checkbox. So that's the place that where we'll be creating our complete checkboxes. So So checkbox handler will ready to work with that methods. That's the thing they are ready to stretch it over here also. Radio button group is mandatory, right? So please remember, whenever we are going to work with a radio button group is mandatory. So within the button group only, we are going to add all the buttons, right? So I think this will ready to convert the corresponding given text into the formatting options what they have given. Okay. So in the button group, we are having 4 types of buttons are being available that will ready to create those formatting. This could be the idea behind that, right? So we have a text field. Within that, I'm going to type some text, and I have the buttons are being grouped based upon 4 options: line, bold, italic, and bold italic. See that I'm having the corresponding functionality using a simple constructor. Okay, for example, plain font is as it is. Bold font means what I have passed using that font class. I have passed what is the format it need to convert based upon the font face as well as the font style, font corresponding size, what it need to change. Everything has been passed directly as a simple class, right? So that could be an interesting review on this thing. So likewise JList, okay. So likewise I could able to travel for the number of controls we are taking forward. So drop down box, nothing but the JList. So I could able to set number of controls to be visible as well as I could able to perform the events here with the value change because JList will consist of the method nothing but value change. I think you have to traverse. There we have action performed, next item state changed, here value changed. The value is going to be changed. What it has to do, that has to be written within this. Yes, here list selection event. There what you will write action event, item event. Here list selection event. When particular component, when particular item is going to be selected in the given list or when the particular value is going to be collected in the given list, what it need to do that can be done, that can be written inside this corresponding method value change as well as the corresponding listener is list selection listener. That's the idea behind this. Okay, so that's what they are running through their tooltip. So how they are adding the mouse handling units, mouse click handler, right? So ready to retrieve me the positions of x comma y and what type of event that I am ready to handle here, right mouse or middle mouse or left mouse. Nowadays there's no middle mouse, you have only drag. Even nowadays the powered mouses are coming without middle buttons also, nothing but the corresponding drag over functionality, right? So wherever I am going to click, it will retrieve me that I have clicked this. The position of that corresponding mouse pointer is 40, 46. That's what it's ready to work with, right? See, I have to separate these 3 things: model, view, control. That's what they are ready to run over on these ideas. Okay, I should not give everything inside a single method, single class. That's not advisable, and that won't be that won't be the best one for you to understand and carry forward, right? Because whenever any issues are going to come, it is good to work with the issue, not with the design. Issues won't be raised based upon design, it will raised based upon my logics only. So just to disturb the logic, don't disturb the design and arrangements. That is the idea that they want to take it over here, right? So that's the point. Thank you. We'll meet in the next session.